Oh, I'm small. How did I get small? Hey guys, welcome to Massive Iron Live. Welcome to Friday. It is Friday, April 18th. My head's showing. We can't have my head showing. We gotta do that to make sure we cover up, keep our head warm. How you guys doing? Welcome to Massive Iron Live, the longest running live Q&A lifting podcast in the history of the universe. We've been rolling for a long time. Appreciate you guys being here. I'm here every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. How you guys doing? I had a good week. How'd you guys do this week? Spring is kind of here, and I have some allergy issues. I got some junk in my eyes and stuff like that. I had a good week of training. Monday, I did shoulders. What did I do? Tuesday, I did leggies. And yesterday or Wednesday, I took off. And what did I do? Yesterday, I did chest. I did chest and triceps. So Joe says I like the bald look. That's what I look like, in the shower when I'm all by myself. Anyway, if you guys are new here, please don't hesitate to post up a question. I'm here to help. We're talking lifting. We're talking power building. We're talking building strength. We're talking building muscle. We're talking body recomposition, all kinds of goals. So I'm here to help. If your question does not go through, try rewording it or shortening it. And if that doesn't work, you can just make sure you don't have any naughty words in there, because sometimes YouTube doesn't like the old naughty words. If you tune in late, please head over to Instagram, app and the barman, slide into my DM. I'd be happy to answer any questions. So what is going on, lifting freaks? We are here. We're ready for a big weekend. I got my Purple Monster. Martin from Team Massive gets some caffeine today. He did the 10-100, and I want to give a big shout out to him. I have a 10-100 program over on my Discord server, and you can check out the link to that in my previous video in the description box. But I've had the 10-100 program for, 6-7 years. You basically pick 10 challenges and try to do them over the course of 100 days. And Martin hit it. And let's see, 10-100 challenge. We also had John C. hit it. So we had a couple people hit it. So yeah, it was a really strong effort this year. And I might fire it up heading into the fall again. So before I get into things, before I get into your questions, please check out my website, superlivingtoday.com. If you need coaching, check out the coaching tab. Coaching is what I do for a living. I'd love to work with you if you're frustrated with results. I've been coaching for a very long time. It's what I do for a living. I have a lot of amazing people that I'm working with that are making amazing results. Solid, rock solid progress forward. In fact, one of my clients, Mark Buakine, he's over in Australia competing in the World Timber Sports Championships, the ultimate in timber sports or lumberjack sports. And he just won a world championship. He was only the fourth American in ever to do what he did, and winning the Triple Crown. Only the fourth athlete ever in a sport to win the Triple Crown in I don't know what it is, like 150 years or something like that. So if you're interested, check out the coaching tab. I also have books and PDFs and workouts over there. Check out the workout tab. Check out the book tab. I have Massive Omnibus available in PDF and Massive Iron. My most popular service is my workouts, custom workouts, only $39.99. I do them every Saturday. I have a couple to do tomorrow. So please check that out as well. All right, let me get this stuff off the screen and dive into your questions. I normally don't jump ahead on questions, but I wanted to pull this one up first because it has to do with Dr. Michael. Contradiction of the day. Dr. Mike Israetel is not in favor of deadlifts, even though he was a power lifter at one point and used it to build part of his base. Let's be fair here. All you got to do is check his lifts. I don't really care what he's in favor of now, but these guys that are doing, that have certain philosophies now, let us not forget how they built their base. Mike was a power lifter and trained more like me back in the day. Mike is not in favor of deadlifts, yet in his trap workout video, he states deadlifts as his first lift in building traps. I would too. So it is what it is, right? We have to make up content. I don't know. It's all too confusing. Big Joe B. What's going on, Joe B? Good morning. Client of mine from Team Massive. Yvonne, how's it going? Not a client of mine, Team Massive. Good morning. Glad to have you here. Big Mike M, client of mine. How's it going, Mike? Is there a rule of thumb with eccentrics that I should follow to make sure I'm not rushing the weight? I control the weight down, but sometimes it feels rushed. There is a little bit of nuance here, and we have to make sure we understand that. In general, you want to control the weight back down. You don't want to overly slow it. We're not trying to create, some slow-mo reps or timed reps, but you want to control the weight back into position for most lifts, non-posterior, and we're going to get into posterior and back lifts here in a minute, but you want to get as much mechanical tension out of the set, but really you want to think about hard training. When you're doing a seated cable row, if you're just doing this, you're just like a monkey having a spasm or a seizure. You're not getting the most out of the set. It's not a hard set. It's basically a trash set where you're just recklessly moving weight through space and not focused on muscle building. Let's say you're doing the seated cable row. You drive the elbows back and then you control it down meticulously. Drive the elbows back and control it down meticulously. If you're doing this, you're just being a monkey, right? You're just throwing things through space. Now, on posterior lifts, and this can get controversial on the internet, but I will say I'm not a fan of controlling the eccentrics on the deadlift. And some people like to argue with me, but I will say, in all fairness, if you see what I see as a coach, you would understand that the lower back takes a beating on the deadlifts. So we don't want to add to that. So on the deadlift, we get a lot of value out of the concentric or lifting the weight. Controlling it down, you basically want to control it down mildly while letting gravity do its thing. You don't want to really slow it down and be dramatic on the eccentric. The coaches that argue with me, I'm going to be fair, they're either super strong already on the deadlift and it's not going to bother their back. They're like the 1% that has a bulletproof back. Or they're guys that don't actually coach in the real world. And that's not a dig. But if you coach in the real world, you're going to understand that, you can't have most lifters who don't have a strong back controlling the eccentric on deadlift. The same thing when it comes to like dumbbell rows and pendley rows. When the weight gets super heavy, if you start to control that weight down, you're going to place a lot of stress on your lower back. And there's some nuance here. I don't want to make this a black or white subject, but you have to be really careful with the lower back. Just let's be pragmatic here. We have to take care of the lower back. You can drive a heavy weight on a dumbbell row or a pendley row. And if it's still relatively light, you can control it down and not have a lot of pressure on the lower back. But when the weight starts to get heavy, if you're doing this slow eccentric on a barbell row or a dumbbell row, you're going to have a high likelihood or a high chance of tearing up your lower back. So I hope that makes some sense. Woodulus, I got an itchy nose here. That's from all the oncoming allergies. All right. He's a client of mine, by the way. By the time you read this, my shoulders will be dead. Overheads and Arnold's. Good, man. I hope you had a good workout. No rest for the wicked. Dopa. Hello. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you. Which progression method do you like to use on heavier compound lifts? If you're brand new and working on form, we probably want to do straight sets. But the next step forward is generally like threes, the threes protocol. It is something that I give to a lot of my clients. Basically, you do the hardest set first, and then you drop weight down 10% and push for max safe reps, and drop weight down and push for max safe reps. So threes or sometimes twos on deadlifts or whatever is what I typically do with clients. I was trying to see if I could find a PDF with progressions on here on my computer, but I cannot for an example. But threes are something I talk about a lot. If you're not certain what they are, you can go over the main page of my YouTube and search progression. And I believe there's a really good video on that. That's a good choice. There's no magic progression scheme, but it is certainly one you could try. And if you can't find it, just hit me up on Instagram or email me, benthebarman@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to help you find that. And I think this is a duplicate. Which progression method do you prefer? For example, have we got 5 to 7? Generally, it depends on the lifts. On deadlifts, we don't really want to train above 87.5%. Of our 1 rep max. It is my opinion from what I've seen that it takes more than it gives. On squats, there's nuance here, right? You have posterior compounds and you have pressing compounds, and then you have other compounds like pendley rows. But on the pressing compounds, it's really lifter specific. You can use whatever rep range you want as long as it's reasonable. You go up to 12 or 15 if you want. It doesn't really matter as long as you're progressing. On squats, you're going to pick up, the deeper into a set you go, you're going to pick up cardiovascular fatigue. There's really no way to mitigate that. If you put a heavy weight on your back, right, and you just stood there, you weren't doing any squats at all, your heart rate would start to increase naturally. That's what happens on squats, just with having a barbell on your back. On RDLs, if you're holding the weight off the ground, you're going to run into the same thing. So you might find on like RDLs and squats that your heart rate really starts to race. And some people will come to me and say, hey, I need to get in better shape to fix that. Good luck, because it really is the kind of a situation where it's the nature of the beast. And the deeper into a set you go, the more your heart rate is going to start to creep up. So on squats, you really want to work within a rep range that allows you to progress, but where you don't feel like you're absolutely going to have a heart attack because of the cardiovascular impact, if that makes sense. Massive iron, gallons of milk, all kinds of gallons, all kinds of milk. JR, enjoy your weekend, peeps. Avoid your excuses and get her done. Yep, avoid your excuses. No one cares about your excuses. Everyone has excuses. The one thing I've learned about excuses is that everyone basically has an excuse not to lift or not to take care of themselves. And it's all about calling out your own nonsense, calling out your own bullshit. Everybody could find an excuse if they want. So, Big Jeff, how's it going, Jeff? Happy Friday, Team Massive. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in, Shelly. Good morning, Team Massive. Big Jimmy, how's it going, Jimmy? Morning, all y'all. Of my 5 drunk Russian workouts, 1 or 2 of them, I can't get through them fast. I can get through them fast, 20, 25 minutes. Yeah, it really depends on the exercise. The one thing I don't want you guys to do, whatever program you're on, is rush. Don't turn hypertrophy work or strength training into, how fast you can get it done. I'm not saying Jimmy's doing that, but I'm saying in general, we want to rest until we feel mentally and physically ready to go again, because our goal is to get the most out we can out of the next set, hard set. So that is the goal. And we don't want to turn it into CrossFit. Big Rico, good afternoon. All right, live starts now. We're 16 minutes in. Let me get a refresher. I'm thirsty today. Big Ernie. How's it going, Ernie? Thanks for tuning in. Big Michael. Massive iron head. massive watermelon head. I actually trimmed the beard last night and buzzed the head. I routinely buzz the head a couple times a week. I think it's hard to do this backwards right there. I think I took a little dent out of the old Skullarooski. Big Joe B kind of digging the ball look. Justin Jones. Good morning, Big Hairy Ugly Dude and Team Massive. Good to have you here. All right. 8 sets per muscle group, good enough. Group enough volume. The only thing I say when it comes to volume, is it reasonable? Yeah, it's reasonable for major muscle groups. Definitely reasonable. Nothing wrong with that. You have to kind of structure your volume around your available time in gym. So that's absolutely reasonable. Generally, 12 is a starting point for someone, for major muscle groups, for someone that is lifting 4 days a week. And once you get down to like 3 and 3.5, you're looking at like 8 or 9. Like in the classic full body days, you would have guys doing like 9 sets a week for major areas, chest, shoulders, etc. We're not trying to create rules, but that is definitely reasonable for major muscle group per week. The one thing I don't want you guys to do is get caught up in dogma or like magic. This is the magic number of sets, or I have to do 8 because so-and-so said I shouldn't do more. That's one landmine that you want to avoid. That's one pitfall you want to avoid. So anytime somebody starts to make up arbitrary rules, understand that they're full of crapola, right? They're full of bunk. They're full of doo-doo. And we do not follow arbitrary rules. We evolve training based on needs. So if there is a schmuck out there telling you you can't do more sets than X, Y, or Z, know that they're full of crap and they are ignorant. CJ, good morning. Did my first 6-minute deadlift block this week. It was difficult, but I enjoyed it. Glad you like it. I have a 6 and a 10-minute deadlift block, basically rest pause style, where you do a single or double, release the bar, relax, shake things out, and then you get back at it. This allows you to work on form. It allows you to mitigate cardiovascular fatigue, from doing straight sets. And it allows you to mitigate a little bit of lower back fatigue. So this has been one of my long-running protocols. It is extremely popular. Glad you enjoyed it. My new workout at Boost Camp, Power Muscle Blast, features this. I don't have the 10-minute block in there, but I do have the 6-minute block along with the 5, 10, 10, 20 bench press program. It's kind of an introductory program for anybody on Boost Camp into the massive iron world. It takes the Power Muscle Burn system, and it includes bulldozer training, and it includes the 6-minute block, and it includes the 5, 10, 10, 20 protocol. So it's a really fun workout. You can find that at Boost Camp. Big Andy. Hey, Steve, great to see you live. Thanks for tuning in, Andy. Good to have you here. Big Joe B. More creatine videos popping up lately. People pushing 20 or more a day. I think it needs to be person specific. It's crazy because many years ago, yours truly, let's pull it up. Let's just dive into things, okay, before I unravel the spiel. So let me go over to what we would call YouTube, right? Let me go to YouTube, and I got to mute things here because I don't want it to go crazy and start playing music or ads or whatever. I have a video. Let's see. Here we go. I'll try not to sing for you guys, but I got a couple of videos, and let me just share the screen. I want to have a little bit of backstory first. So these are all videos from my channel. 5 years ago, do you need more than 10 grams of creatine? I was always taking more than 5. A lot of times I take more than 5. Let's see. We got some creatine. I've been doing this for a long time, so there's some creatine videos. And the creatine challenge, chasing intense muscle pumps. I believe in this one. I was, I don't know. I think I was talking about 10. Let's check the comments. I think I was talking about taking 10 grams a day or something like that. You know, one thing people used to hate on me, not everybody, but you know, the 10% of commenters would say, "You are idiots," right? There's no value. Well, number one, creatine should probably be relative to your overall body mass. So 5 grams is a good baseline, right? But if you're a bigger boy with bigger muscle, you probably should take a little bit more. I always found personally that I received greater muscle pumps from taking 10 grams. So I always took a little bit more. And when I used to mention that, there was always the 10% of folks that would think I was an idiot. And, you know, hey, they have a right to think I'm an idiot. Maybe I am an idiot. But we have come to find out lately that, you know, people have kind of settled down a little bit and started to reason a little bit more. And you will find it seems more reasonable to take a little bit more relative to your body mass, your lean body mass, etc. And also, we're finding out that it has nootropic benefits. So there's really no downside as long as you can afford it. I don't know about 20 grams or more a day. You know, I don't. You know, if you want to take 15 or 20, there's no downside that I'm aware of. I mean, it's the most well-researched supplement in the universe outside of protein powder. You know, I don't see any downside, but I don't think we need to go extreme. Anytime like an influencer gets out there or a fitness personality, a nutrition personality, it tends to like, let's move from 5 to 20, right? All of a sudden we're making this big jump. And, you know, I don't, that always is kind of a red flag for me. I don't like to be reactionary. And some people will say that's anti-scientific. Well, there's not a lot of science, I don't think, showing that 20 grams is the magic way. But I think a reasonable degree of creatine, a little bit more than normal, is certainly not a bad idea. So I'd be curious if any of you guys know who is pushing the excessive amounts and if they have any rationale behind it, because I have not seen that yet. All right, Big Lee, let me get some more drinky here. Two days left on the Lent cut. Not a single cheat meal. Well done. Kept calories low and even hit some big PRs. Congrats. Just need to survive tomorrow's cardio and boom, a week off and junk food. Well, you earned it, so congratulations. Do you think it's a good idea to alternate between dynamic triple progression and rest pause week to week? Yeah, absolutely. You can absolutely alternate between A/B types of progression methods on a specific lift. As long as you don't get more than 2 weeks away from a specific progression method, you're absolutely fine. I do these sorts of A/B variations with my clients, not with all of them, but with some of them, many of them over the years. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it as long as you enjoy it. Sometimes it adds a little bit of, you know, freshness to your program. You're not doing the same thing over and over and over again. Any recommendations on dealing with ongoing tendonitis? Yep, this is something I have addressed many times over the years in many videos. I'm a very strong proponent of grip support. The elbow tendonitis you're feeling on the inside area here is primarily, largely, mostly due to over gripping during back and holds, RDLs, deadlifts, dumbbell rows, barbell rows, pull-ups, all the backward. That is a majority of the contributor. It is an overuse injury from what I have seen. And the best way to mitigate it or to help it rescind is using something called VersaGrip Pros. Now, ProTech is coming out with a VersaGrip Pro alternative that has a hole in it that allows you to strap it over your fitness watch. I have a pair of those coming in. I can't wait to see that. But you need grip support. This is something I stress over and over again. And I tell my clients that don't use grip support. If you don't use this sort of thing, you're going to pick up elbow tendonitis. Doing a bro split can allow you to have more recovery time in between back training, which would be a good thing. So yes, is it a magical cure? No. Would it possibly provide benefits? Yes. But with that said, until you start to use grip support, there's really no chance at all that you're going to see an improvement in this condition. All right. Got any lifting stories? No, actually, Marcus Rule. I think because he's way over there in the far off land, I've never run into him. I've never seen him here in the States. I've had a lot of people come through my office, but never Marcus. I've had a couple of IFBB pros come in, ex-Olympians, but never Marcus. So no stories at all. I live pretty close to West Side, so I have some West Side stories. But other than that, nada. Big Joe B. The reason I take 10 grams of creatine a day, brain health, nootropic. There are some really promising nootropic effects. And I think for that reason alone, we're all knuckleheads. We're all a little bit dense. We're all a little bit thick. We all have these big fat watermelon heads just taking up space in our brains trying to do something productive. So why not take a nootropic or a few extra grams of creatine? Thanks, Justin. What do you think about doing yoga? Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm a big proponent of having secondary forms of activity. So, like we live in a world, the bodybuilding world, which is so paranoid that the body is fragile, right? And that you can't do this, that, or the other thing. You can't run, you can't play basketball, you can't do jujitsu. Absolutely. I really love to see other activities. I think it's probably good for general recovery. Is it going to be a miracle, a game changer? No. Will you potentially find some benefit from it? Yes, of course. So I'm a big proponent of that. It's not high impact. It's not brutal. It's not punishing. And on off days, I really, really don't see any downside to that at all. Big MG. Do you take pre-workout? If so, what is your go-to brand? I used to a lot. I used to take it religiously. When I worked at Tiger Fitness and when I worked at Muscle and Strength, there were so many pre-workouts everywhere. It was everybody's talking about pre-workouts or protein powder flavors, right? So those were a couple of the biggies. Just absolutely on everybody's radar. Everywhere you turn, there was a new pre-workout. So I did mess around with a lot of pre-workouts. Pump and Grind was my personal favorite. A lot of people think, I used to mention that when I worked at Tiger Fitness. You can find it at Tiger Fitness. I used to mention it a lot, and people assumed that I got my supplements for free. Well, first off, no disrespect for Tiger Fitness, but or any supplement company, but these things aren't cheap, and most of them are trying to make a profit. So, and I did not get this stuff for free. Occasionally, somebody would do a return, and they had a return shelf, and you could try some crap that that somebody returned, but that was kind of a crapshoot. So anyway, long story short, Pump and Grind is something that I purchased for myself. And what I found with it, and your mileage may vary, but I found that whenever I took it, I never really had problems with energy during my workouts. Maybe it was placebo, maybe it wasn't. But, when I took it, I would just go in. I just have a normal, sustained energy workout. And I didn't really, placebo or not, I really didn't want to tip over the apple cart. Why would you? So I used to take that religiously. Do I take any pre-workout now? No. I mean, right now I'm kind of in the maintenance area of my life. I'm not building any more mass. I'm not training. I mean, my years of training to become the strongest power lifter in my class are long gone. So, I'm still strong. I'm still strong as I pretty much ever was. I'm just not going crazy. And, my workouts are pretty moderate. I do what I can and fit in what I can into my busy schedule. And I don't really feel like, it's just not a part of my daily habits right now. Big Lee. Also, I know you won't be happy. We're being set up here. But I got 4 reps on my 3-rep max front squat. No, you should not be doing low rep stuff on your cut. I'm just lecturing you. Hey, as long as you didn't die, we're good. So congratulations. We'll celebrate with you. What are your thoughts on programming deadlifts on a cut? I wasn't able to match my previous top set. I don't know whether fail. No, you do not want to be anywhere near failure on a deadlift set. Never, never, never. You want to be in the safe progression zone, always leaving a couple reps in the tank, never doing any grinders. Occasionally, you're going to hit a grinder because you're overzealous, right? But we want to stay out of that zone, and we want to progress in that lane as best we can. So on a cut, your energy is low, your glycogen is low, your recovery is a little bit suffering. You should not be taking posterior lifts anywhere near the brink. Please do not do that. Save that energy, save that push for when you are on a bulking diet. Gavin, hello, Steve. I was wondering, can you build a good physique with powerlifting? Powerlifting is the same as muscle building. Building your base is the same. It's the same process. You can't just do powerlifting and not have a big base of muscle. There was a study several years ago that the strongest power lifters in the world were also, almost to a man, woman, whatever, the biggest power lifters. So it's not like muscle inherently creates strength. There's a lot more nuance to strength, technique, limb lengths, leverages. But at the top level, the strongest power lifters were almost always the biggest in nearly every case. Off-season training for powerlifting is building a base in my world, in most cases. Guys that come to powerlifting already have a pretty big base. The biggest mistake you can make is thinking you can get into powerlifting without having a base like we teach in the Massive Iron world. So you want to train how I train. You want to train how I teach. And then once you build a base strength using reasonable reps, then you can start to mess around with lower rep sets. Excuse me. Once your form is good on the squats and deadlifts and your lower back is pretty much bulletproof, then you can start to mess around with, some new toys, so to speak, that are more powerlifting focused, if that makes sense. What's a better exercise than bus driver using a plate? Bus driver is useless. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's a garbage can exercise. You should toss it. Okay, you should toss it. That's where you sit and do this. It does nothing of value, and it has a limited progression opportunity. Toss it, pretend you never heard of it. Kick it to the curb. Tell it to get out of your life forever. For your delts, you want to do overhead barbell press, you want to do overhead dumbbell press, you want to do behind the neck press, you want to do the machine overhead press, you want to do the side lateral, you want to do the high pull, you want to do the landmine press, you want to do the upright row, you want to do the bulldozer lateral. Those are the exercises you want to rely on. And if you're not familiar with any of them, please let me know. But the bus driver is a crap exercise. It's like the Sven press where you do this for your chest. The Sven press and the bus driver are two of the exercises that sometimes creep into hypertrophy that are just absolutely trash, not worthy of consideration. Somebody will say, I got a burn. Well, I can get a burn holding my phone over my shoulders. There's no progression opportunity. There's no value in this lift. It should not even be in the conversation. And I'm not going hard on Vera. I'm just trying to educate you guys. Pretend it never existed. Big rack pull. Hypothetically, say you had 8 to 9 sets per major muscle group per week. We'll start with major: chest, back, shoulders, and quads. Would you lean towards 3 exercises? I would start. We want to start at a place of reason, a reasonable foundation. So you could start with 3 exercises of 3 hard sets, or 4 exercises of 2 hard sets each. Some of my clients prefer 2 sets per exercise. Some of them prefer 3. Some of them, we just go through different seasons where we alternate. So either one is fine. You can go ahead and run both every other week if you want to test it out. You could do bench press 3 sets one week, 4 sets the next, or 2 sets the next. Or you could do a phase of training where you do 3 sets of bench, and then the next phase of training, you could do next phase of training, you could do 2 sets. Nothing wrong with either of them because they're both reasonable. Big Gavin, do you like the vertical diet? Well, I will tell you there are a lot of things I like about the vertical diet. Number one, it focuses you on good nutrition and nutrient intake. Number 2, it gets you off of the junk train and onto animal and plant-based. Any diet that is focused primarily on animal and plant-based is going to be solid from a nutrient standpoint. That is where I come, as a focal point of what I try to teach. If you want to move over to more plant-based, if you want to move over to more animal-based, you're not going to get an argument from me. I live in that world, animal and plant-based, and this isn't biased towards animal-based, but you're going to find more nutrient density in animal-based foods. So we have to be aware of that. If we shift to more plant-based foods, we have to maybe adjust our diet so we are making sure we're getting in our nutrients. But any diet any eating lifestyle that focuses on animal and plant-based, you're on solid foundation. Diet has really become a religion, and someone mentioned this week as well. It's become like a religious battle, and people get really, really heated, but we have to use common sense, and we have to, view the long-term approach. There's very few people that are going to take one eating approach and use it the rest of their life. I want you guys to use a reasonable variety. I think there's value in using a variety of plant-based choices each week: beef, bison, venison, seafood, pork, chicken, chicken wings, chicken wings, chicken wings, bacon, 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 chicken wings, bacon, cheese. There's a reasonable variety of foods you enjoy each week is a good place to be at. Big Tony D, do you think box squats are better? It's two different kind of, it's 2 different kinds of approaches. A 10 by 2, I don't know. None of this. This is going to be. It depends on the context of the program. There's no way to answer this. That's why I'm fumbling a little bit. It's all in the context of the bigger program. Like, what are you trying to do? There is no better. Especially in the long run. We play around with things. Some things we like. Some things strengthen us. Some things we don't care for. There's a season for everything, but there's no better. We have our goals. We have things we're trying. I've tried it all over the years. I've tried box squats. I've tried dynamic effort. I've tried it all. There's things I like and things I don't like. But in the long run, if you're looking for maximum strength, we have to try things. We have to learn from them. There's things I learned from box squats. Like box squats, I tend to push my hips back more, and it has a tendency to create knee or quadricep tendonitis for me because I'm changing my squat, even though I don't realize it. I'm pushing my hips more and placing some odd stress on my quadriceps, and I did pick up quadricep tendonitis from box squats. I'm not saying you shouldn't do them. I'm not saying you'll experience the same thing, but my whole point is that when you do these things, you need to decide if they have value and not just listen to someone else. All right, guys, we have about 5 questions left. Keep them coming. If not, I will hop off. Get your questions in now. How would you define a set to failure when you're exhausted? I don't really teach failure in the massive iron world. What I teach is safe quality reps. This is a good tool that you can apply to anything from curls to squats. What I teach and what I've always taught is the following. We toss failure out the window. Push a set for as many safe and quality reps as possible. So you're pushing a set as deep as you can, stopping the set when you feel like you're going to fail on the next rep or when your form is breaking down. So when your form is breaking down, if you're unsure on a squat or deadlift, if the next rep is going to be a grinder, you stop and you progress in that lane. If you feel like you're going to fail on the next rep, like let's say your bench speed slows dramatically on rep 8, and you're pretty sure you're going to fail on rep 9, you can certainly push it on rep 9 because, you're not really going to get punished. But, do you need to do that rep? Probably not. So this is a good protocol for training longevity, staying in the gym. I'm not trying to turn it into the ultimate rule, meaning you have to do this all the time. It's a general guideline. Stop a set when you feel like you might fail on the next rep, or when you feel form is going to break down. Steve, I need your suggestion. On Tuesday, second leg day on Saturday, I do RDLs. It takes 3 to 4 days for hammies to recover. Okay, I was just seeing if there was a second part of this. So this is one of the problems with training legs twice a week, and something I see a lot. And I'm kind of sensing this is where you're going. People will train legs twice a week, and they'll still be sore headed into the second day. This is one of the issues you will find. This is not a criticism, it's a reality of frequency training. We try to think that all muscle groups are going to recover equally, but they don't, because that's the real world. The quads and legs tend to remain more sore longer for a lot of people, right? So if you do squats for 3 sets on Monday and Thursday you're supposed to do legs again, you might find you're still sore. Now, can you train with soreness? Absolutely, you can. But it can be very irritating as well. So we might have to look at the program, alter things a little bit. There are many, many ways to program. The key thing is getting in our weekly volume, but we might have to adjust our program a little bit. Please come over and join Team Massive on Discord if you need more help. We always can comb through things, more and more and more. So please check that out. What are your thoughts on basement bodybuilding and natural hypertrophy? Reasonable advice. I mean, do I agree with everything? No. But one thing I do say is that when you look at the history of lifting, most of what they're teaching is reasonable compared to the history of lifting. So I have no issues with really anything. When I say there are some differences, it's more of a difference in philosophy in some minor cases, and I'm not worried about that. Will Spanish squats add mass to my quads? I have no idea what that is. No disrespect, man. Spanish squats. What are we doing? There's so many wacky influencers. Oh, you mean okay, you're putting them back. Okay, let me show you guys. Whoops, we got to turn down the volume here. I have a sissy squat station, and they look like sissy squats with a band. So let me pull this up for you guys. I had to mute the fun. These look a little bit tricky, but we will take a look. We got to let it run through the advertisement. Just give me a second here. Skipperoo. Okay. You can see he's got a band around his knees. This is already scaring me a little bit. You just have to step back so the band tension puts you in a place of mental comfort, but, like you don't feel like you're going to biff it. Yeah, these can be fine. They're a lot like sissy squats. I think these would be more of a last resort, burn, last place exercise. They can be a good contributor. They're certainly not a primary exercise, though. So I hope that helps some. Crazed Corgi. I started karate with my son at the beginning of the month. Good. It's hard for me to twist my body to do a kick. I need to know more information. It's hard for me to twist and do a kick. That's not my specialty. The one thing I would say is don't overthink things. Sometimes we just old. Sometimes we just need a little more stretchy, right? Sometimes we just need a little bit more flexibility. I don't know the demands of karate. I can imagine the demands of karate. I can imagine at age 57, I would not be able to do it. So, to blanketly say it's a hip flexor, I don't know. The only thing I would say is keep working on it, do your stretching, and, talk with people that do this, that are advanced, and see what wisdom they have for you. Because I'm not going to lie, this is completely out of my lane. Thanks, Tony. I appreciate it. Do different barbell row angles hit different parts of the upper back, lower back? Yes, any variation is going to shift things slightly, right? Where we can get in kind of a sticky situation is where we try to overanalyze and get paranoid like we have to do everything. At any given time, you could probably do 2 different barbell row variations: Yates row, standard row, Pendley row, barbell row, T-bar row, Pendley row, T-bar row. There's no harm in that. A little bit of variation within reason is always a good thing. Big Justin Jones, happy Easter weekend, everyone. Big Joe B, any plans for the weekend? We're going to do what we do, watch a movie. That's usually what we do on Friday night, Saturday night. Tonight, my wife wants sushi, so I'm driving to get, or she wants sashimi. My wife likes sashimi. And I get from the Japanese steakhouse, when we do this once a month, I get filet with fried rice. So that's what I'm going to be doing this weekend, along with some custom workouts. Harris, happy weekend, Team Massive. Is the modified, oops, let me start that over. Is the modified, why did I say modified, candlestick a better exercise for abs? Better is not a word we use in the massive iron world. Better is always a combination of exercises. Better would be what feels better for me. So better doesn't exist. Better is something that is always a combination of exercises, or an exercise you feel gives you more value. Spanish squats. Shelly says yes. I've never tried them. I just try the sissy squat variation. Big JV. I recently decided to run as well as lift. I found that both leg training and running started to fatigue the crap out of me. Yeah, it's okay. There's going to be a period of adaptation. Could it be a month? Could it be 2 months? Could it be 3 months? Hard to say. But your body will eventually adapt to running and lifting, and then you can kind of build back into things as you feel necessary. But the one thing about reducing your volume temporarily on lifting is that you're not going to lose mass. Maintaining mass is easy. So reducing your volume a little bit is okay. You can still train it hard reasonably while you adapt to running, and then you can kind of move it back up a little bit if you see fit. Do you think doing Nordic curl with one leg is possible? I think anything is possible. I'm sure there's a couple people out there that have done it. I've not seen it, but I'd be curious to see a video. What's the funniest exercise name you've ever come across? Wow, this is a good one. I would challenge you guys to type in what's the funniest or craziest exercise name you've come across. I don't really know that it's a name, but I will say pretty much any exercise Dr. Joel Seedman pushes is humorous, in my opinion. All right, so I'll leave it at that. All right. Progressive overload with soreness or progressive overload without it. You don't worry about soreness. Soreness comes and goes. It's different for every muscle group. We're not chasing soreness. And I mean that respectfully. We're chasing hard training. And we're chasing hard training, progressive overload in the lane of hard training. Every area is going to be different as far as soreness. My shoulders have only been sore a handful of times in 40 years. My hamstrings always get sore doing squats. So don't worry about soreness, right? We worry about hard training and progressive overload in that lane. Oops, did I miss something here? No. Yep, I did. If someone isn't maximizing their sets but still overloading progressively, if you're overloading progressively, you're going to inherently be maximizing some sets. They are chained together to a degree. Even if you're doing straight sets, 10 sets, and then max reps on the last. If you're progressing, at some point over time, one of those sets for that exercise is going to be hard, right? You can't detach. You can't uncouple them. Pushing progressive overload consistently, you're going to run into sets that are hard. Like if I do 10, 10, and 11 on curls today, and then I push for 12, that last set is pushed hard. It is maximized. You're going to inherently maximize sets when you push for progressive overload. When the weight is lighter, we're just kind of in a fluffy building stage, getting our weight up to speed. Yes, you can build strength without maximizing. Let's say you took, let's say I stopped training for 2 years and I came back to dumbbell curls and I did 15s. And the next week I did 20s. Next week I did 25s. They're not maximized. I'm progressively overloading. The only case where somebody is progressively overloading and not maximizing is when they're building back up to the point where they are going to start maximizing. Does that make sense? Big Lee. My daughter is starting to show an interest in sports science. Do you have any good book recommendations? She definitely doesn't want to go over to Milo Wolf. She probably should start with some foundational stuff like basic kinesiology. What do I have on my shelf here? Basic kinesiology books to understand physiology. Some of the foundation. Hit me up off here. I'll give you some good book recommendations because I have basically every book under the sun, and I can give some really good recommendations. But I would start off with the foundation of nutrition and kinesiology. Learning the muscle groups, learning the movement patterns, learning what muscles target what, um, and learning foundational nutrition. Her growing interest also has me incorporating plyos. Be really careful about explosive work, guys. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but it's like explosive work is um, explosive work is kind of injury encouraging, if that makes sense. So sprinting, stuff like that, you really want to be careful with that. So just watch it. I'm not a big fan. Let's see. Speaking of running, how would you program running for a beginner? I have some basic running programs that I've put up on Discord. I don't know if you're on Discord or not, but come over to Discord or message me. I got tons of beginner running programs on my computer. I could easily share you a PDF. I need a name for Dr. Mike's flat bench. If you haven't seen this exercise, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. These lineups, not for me. Okay, not for me. I'm going to jump ahead. What's the USMA on your collar? It is the United States Military Academy at West Point. My nephew is at West Point, and I'm super proud of him. He is just a machine, and I like to support him by wearing my West Point gear. So that's why I wear it. United States Military Academy at West Point, just to show support for him. All righty. I started zone 2 cardio. Any tips for being in that zone without using a fitness watch? Forget nasal breathing. Okay, that's, don't get down all these stupid rabbit trails of over analysis, by these people. Focus on conversational pace. Can you hold a conversation? We are running at zone 2 next to one another. Can we hold a conversation like this? If you can, you're in zone 2. I teach them like this. This is the way I teach them. If you don't like it, feel free to yell at me. Zone 1 is just steady state walking, low key, nothing crazy. Zone 2 is conversational pace. Zone 4 is like a sprint, as fast as you can go for 10 to 15 seconds. Zone 3 is a step down. It's something you can sustain for 60, 90, 120 seconds. And it's between zone 2, conversational pace, and sprint. Does that make sense? All right, where are we? It's called Clown Girls. Hey, I'm all for that. 3 days grace. How can I decrease calf Achilles soreness? First off, don't ever call it jogging. We're taking back to 1974 when people have the short shorts and they're jogging down the road. We in 2025, it's called running, right? The best thing I can advise for you guys, just humor, is to run on a trail. It'll be more forgiving on your knees and hips, and you probably shouldn't be getting a lot of Achilles soreness, but calf soreness, that's just, a rite of passage. It's just going to happen. It should improve quickly. Morning, Team Massive. Haven't had the chance to make it on here in a while. Thank you, Bryce. I appreciate you joining in. I hope all your chaos is done for the week. Big Ernie. Sissy Curls, the name for Dr. Mike's curls. Why not? Should my farmer's carry be slow in speed than normal walk? It doesn't really matter. Do the speed you enjoy, because it's giving you a loaded carry, so it's taxing your yoke, your traps, your neck, that sort of stuff. So go at the speed you like. I mean, if you want to walk quickly or slowly, whatever you enjoy. I don't think there's any rules with this. Just keep it sane, and it's something that's not going to get you injured. Big Robert V. Men with bad genetics need more volume and frequency, or there is no way to compensate. Anybody that's teaching this as a general is handing out an arbitrary generalization. There's so many different avenues of what we can consider genetics. I have smaller wrists or bone size. Some people have longer limb lengths, which gives them bad genetics for pull-ups. The broad stroke of calling something bad genetics and then saying somebody needs more of this or less of this or whatever is really just ignorant thinking. And any influencer that paints with these broad strokes is pretty much clueless. I found I can't run at zone 2. I have to walk. That could be. I mean, you might find that you have to fast walk or moderate walk to stay at conversational pace. That's okay. Just work within where you have. If you can run for shorter periods of time, 10, 15 seconds, and then return back to that zone, slowly try to run a little bit, to increase your capacity. All right, I have 3 questions left. After that, I'll be hopping off. Last call. On a 3x10, usually only the last set is challenging. Should I go over 10 reps? You don't have to. You can. If you go over 10 reps on the first set, then basically all of them are going to be maximized. So it really comes down to how you want to train. I'm going to do a video next week about John Meadows. I did not know this, but John Meadows talked a lot about just maximizing the last set. This is something I just developed as a protocol for my clients. In the long run, I think it's safe and sustainable and realistic, not on every exercise, but I'm going to do a video next week about how John Meadows, teaches the similarities and differences in our training styles respectfully. It's always interesting to analyze these sorts of things. But if you do move the first or second set to max reps, basically all sets are going to be max reps. That's fine. You just need a progression indicator. Tire Patch King, I miss wearing short shorts. We miss you wearing short shorts too. Joshua, I look good in short shorts, cheeked up. If you want to post a picture, not on here, go right ahead. Just humor. Robert V. You're right. I should have specified I was referring to hard gainers. Hard gainers are, I don't believe in hard gainers. I believe, from what I've seen as a coach, you have people that are not focused with their nutrition or not focused with hard training. And once we get those in place, most hard gainers disappear. Holistic Dad, good. Thanks for tuning in. How accurate are the body readings on scales? Well, when you are fairly reasonable in your body weight, they're going to be fairly accurate by default. If you're fairly reasonable in body weight, but you have more muscle mass, they're going to start to lean on the side of being slightly inaccurate. So the more you are away from center, and there's not a lot of muscle mass that can really pull you away from center, but fat or muscle, the more inaccurate it's going to be, the potentially inaccurate. I used to, when I was in occupational health, they would make me do the, impedance to check body fat percentage. And I knew they were highly inaccurate, but I had to give it as part of my job. It wasn't my job to critique it. They weren't paying me to critique it. So, Harris, thank you for yet another good live. Thank you, Harris. I appreciate it. I don't do political questions. Nope, never. We don't do political questions. We don't do religious questions. Thank you for yet another informative live. Happy Easter. Thank you, guys. Before you go, I just want to say have a good weekend. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Please head over to Instagram at Ben the Barman. Follow me. I'd love to have you on. Next week, I'm going to do a video, or I'd love to connect with you. Next week, I'm going to do a video talking about the differences and similarities between John Meadows' training style and mine. And we do some other interesting videos next week, so tune in. Thanks for the live. It was nice being able to attend a live after about 2 years. I appreciate you being here. And Chris, thank you. All right, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you next Friday.